channel to my welcome. Channel to my guys. Guys to my welcome.
And welcome to this session of Economic History of India since 1857 to 1947. In this session, we'll learn about the topic Reasons for Colonial Interest in India. At the end of the session, you will be able to understand the reason which prompted the foreigners to gain control over the political powers of India and to exploit it for its trade benefit. India has always been a center of trade right from the Indus Valley civilization. The stories of its riches reached to every nook and corner of the world. It attracted many people who came as travelers to learn about the country. Apart from trade, India was also a knowledge hub where Nalanda and Takshila universities were more popular throughout the world. The wealth and richness of the country was made popular to the outside world by the travelers, merchants, and traders who came to the Indian mainland from various parts around the globe. Travelogues of travelers and envoys, including the Greek envoy Demachus, Megasthenes, Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, Ptolemy, Greek geographer, Huan Sang from China, Al-Biruni from Persia, Ibn Battuta from Morocco, Marco Polo from Italy, Abdul Razak from Persia unveiled the legends and myths surrounding India and her glory of richness. All these tales inspired many European adventurers to set their voyage to these lands. Their records on the prevalence of ancient ports of India, including Muziris, Koilun, and Calicut of Malabar, and Lothal and Bharuch in Gujarat on the western coast, and Tuticorin and Arikamedu on the eastern coast, revealed the trade ties India had with Persians, Assyrians, Greeks, Egyptians, and Roman Empire for centuries. European power was exerted both by conquest and trade, especially in spices. The search for the wealth and prosperity of India led to the colonialization of the Americas by Christopher Columbus in 1492. Only a few years later, near the end of the 15th century, Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama became the first European to re-establish direct trade links with India since Roman times by being the first to arrive by circumnavigating Africa from 1497 to 1499. Having arrived in Calicut, which by then was one of the major trading ports of the Eastern world, he obtained permissions to trade in the city from Samudri Raja. The next to arrive were Dutch, with their main base in Ceylon. Their expansion into India was halted after their defeat in the Battle of Colachel by the Kingdom of Travancore during the Travancore-Dutch War. Trading rivalries among the seafaring European powers brought other European powers to India. The Dutch Republic, England, France, and Denmark, Norway all established trading posts in India in the early 17th century. As the Mughal Empire disintegrated in the early 18th century, and then as the Maratha Empire became weakened after the Third Battle of Panipat, many relatively weak and unstable Indian states which emerged were increasingly open to manipulation by the Europeans through dependent Indian rulers. In the later 18th century, Great Britain and France struggled for dominance, partly through proxy Indian rulers, but also by direct military intervention. The defeat of the formidable Indian ruler Tipu Sultan in 1799 marginalized the French influence. This was followed by a rapid expansion of British power through the greater part of the Indian subcontinent in the early 19th century. By the middle of the century, the British had already gained direct or indirect control over almost all of India. British India, consisting of the directly ruled British presidencies and provinces, contained the most populous and valuable ports of the British Empire and thus became known as the jewel in the British crown. Indian subcontinent was the center of attraction to foreign powers due to the following reason. Popularity of Indian spices, rule of single monarch, richness in mineral resources, trade and commercial activities, wave of renaissance in Europe, support to adventurous voyages, rise of capitalism. Trade links of India with European dates back to the Greek civilization. These trade links continued even during the medieval era, although the mode of trade was mostly through land. The medieval period saw the strengthening of these trade ties with Europe even more during the reigns of the Mughals. Under the Mughal Empire, most of the coastal areas were brought under the control of Mughals, which facilitated the sea trade as well. Though the flow of goods from Asia to Europe passed through different sea and land routes to reach the final markets of Europe, the trade as a whole was highly profitable as there existed a huge market for Indian goods in Europe. This high demand for Indian goods and treasures of wealth held by the rulers and kings fascinated foreign entrants into the country. The weak rulers and the conflicting princely states provided a favorable ground for the entry of foreigners. In this session, we have discussed about the main reasons which contributed to the colonial interest of the British East India Company in India.